Institute, and we're here with Dr. Mahesh, continuing our discussion on Manas Roga.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
In the time,
Yes.
I know it's a little bit different time, always in India, so it's nice to be able to connect.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with all this.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas, and hello, everyone. So we can continue with the what do you call the last where we stopped regarding the diagnosis of physical and mental illnesses and the role of understanding physical illness to have a idea of mental illness and the role of physical illness in causing of the mental illnesses. Okay, I think I have to share my screen. Yes. Okay, now we're gone. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, last time we discussed regarding all these things, and now we go and discuss regarding what are the basics of management of the mental illnesses or the principles of Ayurvedic management. Okay, so usually in any science we have two types of management strategies. One is the pharmacotherapies, and the next one is the non-pharmacological therapies or the management. So pharmacotherapies includes the usage of the any sources of medicines, drugs, and whatever all to be used, to be consumed externally or used internally. And non-pharmacological therapies includes there will be no usage of any physical forms, but it will be only a verbal form of treatment in the form of counseling and psychotherapies. Okay, so coming back, so both have a very important role in management of different stages of physical and mental illnesses. So we focus mainly on mental illnesses. So as per Ayurveda, we have three different modalities of treatment explained for different kinds of or different sources of diseases or different forms of diseases. So they have been enlisted here as per their importance and usage in the treatment. They have been three types. One is Daiva Vyapashraya Chikitsa, Yukti Vyapashraya Chikitsa, Sattvaja Chikitsa. These terms are used in our science. So they are related to different forms and different stages of treatment. So first one is Daiva Vyapashraya Chikitsa. So even though it is used in a very few conditions and applied in the last stages or in a few conditions, but as it upholds the very prime importance in the treatment, it has been explained or considered to be explained in the first stage. So this Daiva Vyapashraya, the word meaning is that like a faith healing or faith. So the treatment related to faith in the divines. So usage or mediating the treatments through the divines is called as Daivapasraya Chikitsa. It is a one form of spiritual or faith healing. So usually this kind of Daivapasraya Chikitsa is added like an add-on with the main treatments where a doctor or a physician feels it has to be added. Basically, it has to be considered in all forms of treatment, but it comes as a main form of treatment when the other two systems or other two types of treatment may not be that much helpful. Then the Daiva Apasraya Chikitsa is taken as the main line of treatment and then applied for the patients or the spiritual seeker, spiritual healing seeker. So here we use different forms of offerings to the gods or divines in which the patient has the faith. It's not that the Ayurveda recommends some of the things as per some culture. It recommends as to follow what the person is following the divine or as per his customs and his beliefs. As
so could I ask you a question about this?
Yeah.
How how maybe you're about to explain this, but how does Ayurveda explain that works? It's easy to understand in a way that certain foods or medicines have certain elements and energies
Yeah.
and qualities that
Yeah.
replace or balance out things in the body.
Yeah.
How are they explaining this when it's just kind of energy or belief or both? How do they explain this?
Yeah, it's a
How do they explain it?
very good contextual question, or because actually when we speak from Ayurvedic point of view, just to make it understand, we call it as a faith healing. But actually, when we see the composition of humans, we have even the WHO also explains in the present day scenario that we have four different kinds of living system or health components. One is physical health, mental health, social health, and fourth one is the spiritual health. So, as in a psychological perspective, we are humans, and we mainly focus on our spirit, like a physical, mental, okay, and social health. And we, as we are also a part of this world, and we have been derived from animal resources. We are also a part of this animal kingdom also. So we have been living or motivated to live through our basic instincts, just like the thirst drive, hunger drive, sex drive, and emotional drives. So we are always focused on the like self understanding, self fulfilling of the self needs, and also due to the instincts we have been as a mammals, we have been focused for giving birth to the next generation of offsprings and taking care of them. Beyond this, when we separate ourselves as humans, we have a role just like in others animals. There is a social living. We also have a portion called social living, and above this physical, mental, social, there is one more living called as moral living. So this moral living we have to discriminate ourselves from other organisms, so called as humans. And these humans we have related with the humanity. So this humanity makes us different from other creatures or organisms, so that it understands the respect or the treating or respecting the others organism which is living with us. So it is a above this physical, mental, and social. This is one is called moral or human or humanitarian living. So this humanitarian living is not a simple task to live or follow. So that's why we need to have some kind of monitoring system about these things. And it says, and to bring a what you call streamlining or living. And whatever I'm saying, it is some of the things which are my experiences. It may not be explained in any other textbook. So what I understood why this spiritual things comes here is what is my explanations as per my experience, what I see in my life and others. And when I try to help, it has worked a lot of with the treatment of the patient. So this morality and humanity, it's not only treating humans as humans, but all the creatures with humanity. And this needs a separate monitoring system. That's why we adapt a system called as a spiritual system. Okay. So that we understand that we are not born by ourselves, or this universe is not created by ourselves or something. There is a divine force or a special force behind this, and that has created, for a definite goal or a role. Everybody has to play a role in all these things, and we have to follow that to fulfill its needs. Otherwise we are just living other than humans, we are just living, eat, take birth, eat, live, enjoy, and go and live as per your wish. But this is not going to work, because if we follow that, we may be suffering from so many of the diseases. And some of the things which may not be under our control, we expect that something help beyond this we need. So we take over this and understand the real thing, what is behind the creation of this universe. So then we think of the spiritual, and then the spiritual thing, it comes with the what you call the superpowers which have created this universe and us, and these are the caretakers of us. And every sector has an understanding of this super power, and from every sector, and also every sector has its understandings, its cultures and rituals and follows, so that we are guided by that supernatural power, and we are getting the help, and we have to offer our salutations to these things, and we live in this system. And this system has been controlling us from not going to fully to our instincts, but keep us humans as humans with our humanity, not going out of humanity. So the spiritual health is very much required for us to maintain humans as humans with more of humanity. So this comes with different customs, religions, follows faith. So that's why this is a fourth part, like physical health, mental health, social health. Beyond this, there is called a spiritual health, and this plays a very important role in maintaining the motivation of our life and helps us to live in a positive way and considering the human values. That's why when we talk about Davyapasra Chikitsa, it is nothing but taking from what we have deviated from our humanly living to unhumanly living and bringing back to that. And those who are having a human living, it gives us a motivation that there is something who is going to help and what do you call support this type of living. And when a person's disease gets out of control, that we all have a faith, like we have like a system of living, and we believe in that, and we will be most of the times following that system. But sometimes, due to fulfilling our basic instincts or basic needs, we deviate from these rules and regulations of what we believe and what the way we live. And then this works up sometime, but when we suffer from a disease where we can't help up with the treatment of any of the modalities, then we start praying for or asking the help from this supernatural powers, or super what we feel that these are the protectors. So at that moment, this kind of spiritual healing comes. Okay, most of the times it
And
needs the consent of the patient, not with anybody can enforce on that.
so this, so you're saying once that belief or faith creates like a connection with something greater than oneself, that you there's a type of balance that's restored in the body through the
Yes,
attitude of harmony with all of creation.
yes, 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 yes. So it's a
Okay.
okay. This is a more connectivity with the humanity, because humanity considers like live and let live, and this is the main thing of spirituality.
Hmm.
Okay.
And so you're saying, so in a way, the separation from that can become a cause of a certain kind of disorder within the system.
Yes.
And so now at the same time though, like there's situations where there's clearly a elemental kind of imbalance, but then there's kind of a miraculous result, yeah, from certain ceremonies or faith in or certain spiritual processes. Um, so what it sounds like is that there's like a subtle, a more foundational kind of something more foundational than the five elements. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
from the
Yes.
position of the soul, maybe that organizes the elements and even is more primary than the manifestation of physical elements. Is
Yes.
that right? Am I
Yeah. Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that correctly?
Yeah. 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 So yes. Yes. That sounds right, but it has a very very broad meaning. So spiritual. The second word is faith. I say. Why I say that? See, you follow a custom, and you feel that praying to your what you believe will give you energy or helps you when you're in need. But if you ask me to pray like the customs or the superpower what you follow, I may not be that much believing in that. That may not be helpful for me. So that's why it is called as faith healing. So if I
Mhm.
suppose I follow, like I pray God Lord Ganesha, but you come from a different custom and that you pray in a different way, you may not be having that much connection with what you have done to Ganesha, because asking that, okay, somebody is there, I'll pray, that will be the one meaning, rather than like, okay, I know about this and I pray, or you follow your what you have been, like a structure from childhood, what you believe. So that's why the word faith healing comes here.
Okay. Then this could be a very long conversation. I say it's a really interesting subject, but let's move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
I have only more questions, but we can cover those over a longer period
Yeah,
of
yeah,
time.
we can have a separate session on the spiritual healing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that on that. Okay, because why is very important, because what I adapt in my treatment. See, it's I don't want to discontinue my discussion on this. Let it be long. We can record it longer. Why? Because we have been humans and we have emotions, and this emotions has three stages. One is like uh, human, unhuman, and superhuman. There is a line of this. So this is
Mm.
unhuman, and this is human, and this is superhuman. So we start moving from here to here, here to here, and here to here. Tamas, Rajas, Sattva.
Mm.
Okay. So if it is from Tamas, we have to move to Rajas and then to Sattva. This is what the line of pattern. So when a patient comes, we try to understand in what stage he is, whether he is in Tamas or Rajas or in Sattva. Usually Sattva people won't come for, usually. Okay. So Tamasika, with them, kick them to move to Rajasika, and Rajasika moves to Sattvika. So this needs entry of the spiritual healing, where spiritual healing is not only just doing some pujas or anything. It is adding human values or spiritual values in that
Mm.
human person to make him move from like a unhuman to human. So the spiritual values will help us to move, or to help us treating a patient a lot of ways, moving from antisocial to social way.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that that's a significant factor in healthy systems of the body. For the
Definitely,
systems of the body
definitely.
to work,
Yes,
you
yes.
also have to feel harmonious in your relationships.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, yeah, just like expression of anger and beating somebody. So we
mm,
make them realize what actually he is and the other person. You take his like a husband, wife, friend. You think only that you will beat, but if you think that is a separate soul, separate living organism, you don't do that crime. Only when you realize that, even though they have a mistake, but they are only connected with some relationships, but they are also important or more important than us. So this type
mm.
of education we give, or uh, moral education we give, so that they can realize themselves and what they are, what others are, how to respect each other, how to treat them. So we are trying to motivate them to be more moral, adding more moral ways through spiritual healing.
So it sounds also then you're talking about establishing a sensation of connection with others as well, and
Yes,
how that helps the health of the body,
yeah, yeah,
the body's ability to heal itself,
yes,
coming from not just its own self-identity, but also from the energy and awareness of connection with other human beings.
yes, yes, yeah.
Kind
Oh,
of in the same way, like if one cell wants to do its own thing and disregard every other cell in the body,
yeah.
it becomes a problem.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point, and especially in case of carcinomas.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like it's important to have independence,
Yes.
but only in its proper place with the
Yes.
interdependence of everything else.
Yeah. Respect everything. Respect the surrounding.
Respect. Yeah.
So
So
this respect.
basically, in the faith, in the spiritual healing, what there's like a sincere opening in the person's idea of what's possible in their experience of life. It's actually quite profound. What you're saying is, because it changes the whole sense of identity for a person, really,
Yes.
to
Yes.
move from a disease state where they're separate from everything, doing the only for themselves, to
Yeah.
a place where they're asking to be kind of let back in
Yeah.
to a bigger picture that takes care of them, that heals them actually, just from that attitude.
Yeah. In most of the cases, like carcinoma cases, we get a history of hate. So
Mm.
hating a person who they have enmity or who they have harm, who have harmed these people, even the person getting harmed, if they hate the harmer, they suffer rather than the person who is harming them, because hate is like that.
Mm.
So hate is away from this morality and spirituality. So spiritual thing is respect everybody. Okay.
So in a way, that's, I guess, very unnatural then for a person's habitual emotions and system. Then it takes a little bit of a leap, and then it has a profound effect on
Yeah,
the organizational ability of the body.
yeah, it is not less like we say and follow. It is like a structured improvement. So that's first understand, respect what actually he is or she is. Respecting humans and
Mm-hmm.
understanding the human and what he has to be as a human, not to disrespect himself by not following some of the uh, unnatural behaviors. This is self-disrespect first. Then we first correct it, moving from tamas to rajas. First
Mm.
respect, then from there to sattva.
Okay,
Okay. So here,
thank you.
yes, there are two things. One is what we are discussing now. This is one kind of spiritual and faith healing. And then next one is there is one kind of like a disease caused by what do you call supernatural powers itself. It may be from as per Indian psychology, we have been three categories of things. One is derived from gods. One is just humans, and another one is a follower of demons. So there are three stages. One is so like gods, demons, and in between the humans. We all like this is a thing. So some disease. So humans lie in between. So he may be either influenced by the demonic powers or the divine powers. So when a
Mm.
person wants to motivate himself, he either adapts these features or these features. So when he completely, so we just in our day-to-day life, we try to follow one of these things in a simple way. But in a disease condition, a person either identifies the characteristics or features of a demons or characteristics of divines. So he starts behaving like those things. So in those conditions, we use this Daivapasra Chikitsa modalities to treat such kind of behaviors or afflictions
So
called.
what you're saying is that the disease can be a result of identifying with
Yeah.
divine stuff, and also can be a result of associating with demonic stuff, because the healthy place is being human, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Like polarity. Either
Polarity.
polarity causes disease,
Yeah,
but in the
definitely.
middle, as a human being, then this is where we have the most, you could say,
Yeah,
potential for health.
yeah. It can be explained in a. It's a simple understanding, but I can explain it in a broader way. Suppose I follow divine powers, but in sometimes I'm getting some troubles. Then what I start doing is insulting. You don't have any power. You don't respect me. You don't protect me like that. I start like a wrong notion towards these divines, which I believed. So
Hmm.
what happens after certain time? I feel that I did a mistake. So then this fear starts getting increased and increased. And what happens? This to our mental system is like it pushes away from disconnection. That's called a disconnecting to protect oneself. If he's connected to this thought, he will suffer. So the mind starts pushing towards adapting the new behavior which has caused trouble. This is what called a mental adaptation. So what we fear most, we'll adapt those features. Suppose if we fear like demons more and more, one day he will adapt the features of those things. This is called just a mental adaptation to get rid of oneself from this getting lost due to fear or thought process. So in this case, we use some of the modalities so that he can come out of his guilt feeling, or he himself, he has done a mistake, is asking forgiving in a way which is relevant to that of custom or religion.
And it returns the person back to their position as a
Yeah,
human.
yes, yes, yes.
Interesting. Very good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay, so this is a different kind. We'll discuss a separate thing. What are the modalities included in this Daivapasraya? I have a different class for that. This is just an introductory to the kinds of modalities of treatment. Next, the second category is the Yukti Vapasraya Chikitsa. Yukti means like a proper planning or like intellect, using our intellect, understanding the needs of the patient and adapting the treatment modalities as per the requirement of the patient. That's why it is called Yukti. You need to plan by understanding what has been underlying problems in the patient and what are all the best medicines and the treatment modalities we can adapt to cure a patient. So this all includes the usage of medicines and the therapies, just like all the panchakarma therapies and purification therapies and rejuvenating therapies and the medicines to treat the physical and psychosomatic diseases. Okay, do you have any questions here?
No, I just, when you mentioned intellectual, I was getting confused because it was saying somatic.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is you're using intellectual discrimination to decide what kind of somatic
Yeah, it is just like
therapy.
what has been explained. There are so many things explained in the text, so which is applicable to so many populations. Just like I can't adapt. Suppose we have a treatment modalities in India. A person from other country comes, but we can't adapt the same modalities for that person. We have to first understand what is his body built up of, what is his bowels or kinds of, whether they're soft or hard bowels, what is his custom culture. Suppose some medicines what we use in our science may not be suitable for the customs or the religions of other persons. So we need to understand all these things. Plan the treatment very intelligently. It's called, that's why I use the intellect word, intellect. Intelligently, based on the requirement, even though you have studied so much, but you have to plan as per your intellect. But a person who is not having a knowledge of all these things cannot do a good treatment. That's why it is left on the what do you call thinking process of the doctor. Okay, he has to properly plan by considering the all the basics of the science. That's why it is called as yukti, or what do you call planning. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Understood.
Okay. It includes all the physical modalities which are adapted for the treatment of the patients. Next one is Sattva Vijay Sattva Vijay purely understand. Sattva means the mind or mind, and the treatment adapted to treat the mental ailments, not using any of the what do you call physical modalities or medicines or therapies. It is only through what we talk, what we advise, through only counseling. So that's what called as Sattva Vijay Chikitsa, and to help the mind to control itself from not moving towards the disease causing behaviors. So this is what called the Sattva Vijay Chikitsa, mind control therapy.
Well, when you say counseling,
Yeah.
And I read mind control therapy, I'm thinking of like meditation and yoga and things like this.
Yes.
Is that part? So
yes.
anything that anything is like that, but
yes,
it's through the so but say more what you mean by counseling then, because when you say counseling, it seems like you're getting a person to kind of reassess their mind and what it thinks and how it thinks. Yeah,
it is completely called a psychoanalysis. First you have to understand what he is, what is his nature, what is his mental built up, and what kind of modalities can help him to get rid of these things. It may be all this one, like how we had to plan the treatment, whether he needs supportive psychotherapy or flooding therapy or some other therapies. Okay, so that is again a different set of explanations. It will be coming in the next slides. What is this Sattva?
I see.
Okay.
So the difference between the one you spoke of before that is that it's more physical therapies.
Yes. And there we use the drugs or medicines. Here we don't use any visible medicines.
I understood. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So now we come to the details of this psychotherapies, what we used in Ayurveda. That is called Sattva Vijay Chikitsa. Okay. So here it is. I can use my pen here, so I can explain Sattva Vijay Chikitsa. So here, what do you mean by Sattva is the simple meaning is the mind in its purest form. Okay. And Avajaya means to win over the mind. So this is winning oneself. how to train him to win himself. Suppose a patient comes like, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't control myself moving towards those thoughts. So that means he's out of his self-control. So Sattvaja Chikitsa helps him to make his mind strengthful, to motivate towards the right way of living. This is what the Sattvaja Chikitsa is. Okay. And the classical definition is controlling the mind from moving towards disease-causing behaviors. Suppose I see that like I should not think bad about somebody, because thinking about bad about somebody will affect me only rather than the person who has been harming me. Because right way of living, like motivating myself towards positive thoughts. But still I know that moving towards positive thoughts is good for me, but I can't really go towards that way. My mind is still moving on to negative and negative and negative. This is what we say in depression. So Sattvaja Chikitsa helps. So he is helpless in that situation. He can't come out by himself. So he needs, so there we intervene and we use so many techniques so that he can go on in right way of thinking and move away from negative thoughts towards the positive thoughts, or negative way of living towards positive way of living. So because our living system comes mainly from our thoughts.
So is it so you're saying some people basically in a less serious psychological state, they can use this jnana
I
first.
can explain that. I can explain that because they're all different modalities which has to be adapted in different kinds of different conditions. I can come to that
So
point.
it's not a matter of the intensity of the illness, but more of the nature of it.
No, it's called entry level, where we have to use this modality. It may not be always the
Okay.
intensity, but it's also the background of the person and the background of the situation what he is suffering.
So you're saying this is the first thing to consider, and
No,
maybe
it's
it
not. No,
helps,
no,
but
no, no.
maybe
It's not the first thing, but it has been explained in the text like this: Jnana, Vijnana, Dhairya, Smriti, Samadhi, Vihi, like that. So,
okay.
okay, like that. It may not be. It may be at any level. It may not be the primary level. So it comes at different stages. But always we need to consider like what modalities we have to use at what circumstances. We should be very careful about this, because counseling is not just a talking, but how to framed or structured inputs, putting inputs into a patient. We need to be very, very, very cautious when we speak to a person, so that we are not triggering his unwanted emotions in him. Or see, it's not just like we advise something and the person takes it, grants it. We can't consider like that. We need to really make him realize that what we are speaking is for his betterment. Just like we are not doctors, we say, and the person has to follow. It's not always the right way of thing. It's just making oneself realize that what we are speaking is good for him. So we need to have a very, very broad knowledge of what actually the patient is suffering and what is our role. It may be empathy, sympathy, or in between these two. We can't be empathized or we can't be sympathized. So we had to be in between. So like we can't actually feel what he is suffering, or we can't deny that, understand that what he is suffering. So we need to really understand the core problem and then adapt these principles very carefully at proper times. Okay, we can't randomly select and tell that this is going to adaptive, so you take this and this one is that. No, you can't do that, because sometimes when you're working with a patient, sometimes suddenly some incident happens. We are working at a patient example I will give you, like we are working with a patient of depression. He's recovering, but suddenly he will lose some of his family members. So he again going back to the stage. So where to start again, where to add things again. So we have to be trained in all these things and the broader understanding of applications at certain times. So we should have a very, very, very deep knowledge of all these things so that we can utilize. Otherwise, if we just understand what the word meanings, we can't fully utilize the modalities.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll be as much possible. I'll be trying to explain the practical applicability of these things. So in one of our texts, it has been explained what is Sattvaja Chikitsa. Sattvaja Chikitsa has been explained in a single line like Jnana Vijnana Dhairya Smruti Samadhi Vihi. So this is one thing. So we need to expand it and understand it. So what do you mean by Jnana? So Jnana is nothing but Adhyatma Jnana. It is just not translated as spiritual knowledge. It is a very big meaning in that. So Adhyatma means Atma. First, what is the meaning of Atma is self. Okay, self. So as I explained previously in the spiritual healing and other things, so making the person realize, as I said, like a tamasic to rajasic, make him to really understand what he is, what is his importance, what is his, why he has to live in a right way, what is a respect for him, okay, what is disrespect for him. So why he should not move from humanly living to unhumanly living. At that context, this word jnana comes. So we have to give him realize what actually he is, where he is born. Sometimes what happens, when we take birth, we are not born like what we are today. We are just taking birth. We didn't decide that we have to be like this. Because of our life moments and life circumstances, we have become like this. Sometimes we are good, sometimes we are very good, sometimes we are bad, sometimes we are very, very bad. We know that what we are doing is wrong, but still we can't get out of that. So this behavior takes our self-respect down, and we start understanding and believing that we are bad and start behaving badly to others. So we had to remove all these things from a person to get rid of from all these things. So the spiritual knowledge, or making him realize like importance of what he is, what is his like why he has to come out of these things. So the person comes like asks a question: if I do a moral living, I can't earn. I have to steal the people. I have to cheat the people. Then only I can live. So this is just removing the things from him and bringing him to making him realize like what is the importance of a good living. What that is making him believe that he is an important person on this planet. So this is where the Adhyatma Jnana comes. And also there is something like I'll give an example like a 5-member family and like 3 children and father and mother 3 children. One child is not being well treated by the 2 siblings, and he goes on disconnecting, thinking that he is not important anymore in the family, and he goes with the wrong way of living with drugs and alcohols and other things. So bringing him back to this is to first thing is to connect back. How to connect back is make him realize first what he is. He has to correct himself. Then we can make these people realize that you people have done these things. So please start respecting these things. So Adhyatma means making these people also realize the importance of this person, and making this person also realize the importance of his own good living. So connecting these things will definitely, this type of conditions, we use the Adhyatma Jnana, or making him realize the real importance of what he is, what is his capacities, what is the importance of moral living for his benefit and the benefit of the people who are connected with him. Suppose in alcoholism, so we make him like there are some certain kinds of duties, duties of a father, duties of a mother, duties of a son, duties of daughter, like what we make them realize that, and just bring from deviated life to connected life and actually connect to his duties. So what you call dharma. So this comes here. Okay.
So does the term self-love, does that relate to this a little bit? Self-love?
Self-love is called what you call deviates from human, what you call. There's two meanings. It's a two
like
meanings.
loving yourself, yeah? Like self-love, self-acceptance.
That's a two meanings in that. One is positive way and another one is a negative way.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are more speaking towards always the positive way of thinking.
Uh-huh.
Self-loving way, if it is negative, it's very bad. Again, that's what happened in deviating himself from positive way of living. That means he's antisocial. self-loving in an antisocial way.
Mm.
Self-loving and self-respecting has understanding its importance in a good behavior in a society.
Mm.
Okay, this is a way we take from that to this, negative to
So,
positive.
self love in the positive way increases connection.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. Yes, definitely.
increases the experience of connection with society and other human beings.
So here again, we have to make them realize what is self. Self is not himself. It is the people
Mm.
connected to him or the things connected to him. Yes.
Mm.
Self, if he
And,
thinks as single, that's selfish.
mm.
So that's a negative way.
Mm.
Suppose you have food for one person in the family. Will you eat for yourself or you distribute?
Mm.
No, you think that, okay, my people with me should eat first. Then I'm okay with that. So this
Mm.
is what called this Adhyatmagana. This is a way of living actually. So this will adapt, this should be adapted in many ways from moving from tamasic to rajasic. It's not always
Mm.
spiritual. It's making him understand the fine line between what we discussed now, self and selfishness, or self means what? It's not only us. It's only not only me, it's us. And then
Mm.
again, this us doesn't only stop to my family, but the people living surrounding me. A
Mm.
tree, a animal, or a next my neighbor, it covers everybody.
So, okay. So the question arises in my mind when you say it's the negative aspect, but you also, the person has to eat for themselves as well, right?
Definitely.
He can't just give
Definitely.
to. He can't
That's why.
just.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why there is always exceptions. Means there are some what you call excuses in the science. If you're
Uh-huh.
dying, you need not to offer it to somebody else.
Right.
That's a foolishness. That's the thing explained in spiritual science. You should not lie,
Mhm.
but you should not tell the truth when the person is dying. You are going to die. You can't tell to a patient.
Yeah, or if you're telling the truth, and that's going to cause you to die.
Yeah, that's why this type of questions comes in the spiritual discussions. So where they ask and they have clarified this type of doubts.
Mm-hmm.
But if as much as
Okay, so
possible,
there's.
we have to share. But thing is, self is there for your self existence, but not
Mm.
killing others. Okay,
Mm.
okay, this is the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, suppose my father used to always ask me a question whether Buddhist people are vegetarians or non-vegetarians. Ahimsa. If you think that killing a plant and animal is ahimsa, do you survive? No, there is an
Mm-hmm.
exception for that. So if you
Right.
eat for living, not living to eat, this is the difference between self-loving.
Mm. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay. So this is where it is a fine understanding of the science and adapting. We have to be more understanding spirituality, humanity, human love, living, and the morals.
So like in the idea of like accepting yourself though, like if say you are a bad person,
Yeah.
yeah, say you're a bad person in society,
Yes.
don't you first have to accept that that's the kind of the situation that you're in?
Yes. Yeah, we make that realize first. That is also making him realize it.
Making him really, and but
What is
also that isn't it important for a person to feel that that's okay for them to be where they're at in that moment?
it's not like that. We make them realize, like, okay, you have done, there may be some particular reason. So now we have to come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why what I gave an example of addiction with a child of a five family member. One child is out of that, making him first bringing it stage by stage to this kind of activity.
Mm-hmm.
So some people may not realize that they are doing bad. Just like there is one story comes with the Buddha, and one person is called as Angulimala, and he's a demon, and he goes on killing the people, and he collects a finger of the person he ate, and then he will put in a form of garland. So he'll be have garland of fingers. So that's why it is called Anguli means fingers, and Mala is garland. Because he will be wearing, and he meets this So once Lord Buddha has got a chance to meet this person, and this person terrifies Buddha. I will eat you. Why you have come to my place? I will eat you. Then, so Buddha asks, how long you are going to eat and eat? So then he becomes realized that, so what he was doing, this demon was doing, was not due to, he was doing it due to lack of knowledge that it was wrong. So Buddha makes him realize that he was doing wrong and he has to go away from that. Then this person gives up his behavior and becomes a follower of Buddha. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think what I'm saying is then then what basically what you're explaining is that the person's identity as what we're calling self,
Yes,
is more the quality of relationship, or the nature of their relationship with everything else.
Yes. Quality. Maybe the better word is quality.
Quality. Yeah, it's not really the separate identity that's so much needing to be loved or like brought into realization, but
Yes.
the
What kind of
the
quality of living?
relationship.
Yes. We can call it a quality of living.
Okay. And so that basically the realization or the understanding that the quality of living is what's important, then how a person can generate that, and how that relates to actually loving themselves and benefiting themselves through that becomes a new idea for someone with mental illness in a way.
So this can be adapted by any religion, by follower of any religion, because all religions mainly speak of dharma only, righteous living, and respect humans and human living. So it can be adapted by any of the examples, because in India we use Indian mythologies and Indian way of living. In other countries they can use their explanations to adapt this kind of modalities of treatment. So this is a custom based modality.
Okay.
So
excellent, thank you.
in India we have some ways of living, and that we call as right and wrong, but they not be wrong in other places. So they have to adapt to these places. Okay. So okay. So should we continue, or do you need a break?
Yes.
Okay.
No, this is good. Thank you.
Okay, we can continue.
Yes.
Okay. So next kind is adapting. Vijnana means adapting, bringing the science to treatment here. Science of healing here, like some of the scientific modalities. So nowadays we adapt so many things like hypnotherapy, relaxation therapy, or some of the instrumental things here in treatment. Like that, we can adapt. Like how does the science help in understanding? So what we do is making one portion. I can explain this. Suppose a person comes that he is suffering with some physical illness, and he may think that it may be some due to demonic afflictions, and he or she may deny the treatments. At that time we use or explain him through scientific modalities, medical science and some other sciences, that what he's believing is not that, but due to this other illnesses. So making him realize about his illness or his conditions, or treating him with adaptation of special techniques and usage of scientific knowledge. So this we treat as Vijnana or Vishesha Jnana. Okay, so adapting. Jnana and Vijnana, there is a slight difference. Jnana is just a, so what you call as a general way of understanding, general way of general knowledge, what we call. Vijnana means a special, like how we see it different from others, and adapting those techniques in treating here.
I didn't understand when you said, how do we see different from others? You mean like
just like I can say that this is a cell phone for
it's
me.
more specific is what you're saying.
This is a cell phone for me, but for a software engineer, he has thinking about all the things which are used. So this is a difference.
Okay, it's a great analogy. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay. So we can move on the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next is dhi. So dhi is improving the intellect or correcting the intellect and the correct utilizing the intellect. What is there in the person? Just I will give an example, like Panchatantra stories. So there's these stories are explained in India, and there is a background for this Panchatantra stories. One ruler or one king had children. So due to his bad luck, all these children were born without much general knowledge or common intellect. So he got worried and he took to him to a guru, spiritual guru, okay, where he learned all his teacher. So then his teacher has to teach these children, but these children's IQ is such a low that whatever they say commonly or what we do, they are not able to understand like other children. So what this teacher uses the everyday life stories to teach the science and the way of living to these children. So he uses many stories like Aesop's tales, like that type of stories comes in this. He uses many of the teachings of life through the stories. So what does this explain? That every person cannot understand everything what we say. We have to use modalities and mold the therapies so that it is easy for that person to understand what we are telling or what we are trying to adapt. So this is what called the therapy, or taking him from understanding the things or improving his intellect to understand the things and realize what he or she is suffering and adapt what is good for him and what is not good for him. Suppose like a diabetic patients, or it mainly applies for the life therapies like diet, lifestyle, what how he has to realize that that is good for him and not good for him. So this is what called the improving the intellect or the therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it may include also the play therapy as well as the group therapy. So group therapy helps in many ways. Suppose I'll tell a patient with a depression, he goes on thinking that nobody is there for him, or I'm the only person who has been always troubled and troubled. So one thing happens in depression is that he is being socially isolated. He thinks that he's the only sufferer. But when these people are brought into group, in group therapy, what happens? Everybody shares their own experience of what they're suffering, how did they start, how did they come out. So when this person starts listening to others, he understands that is not only the person who is suffering from this, there are many people who is like him, and he will start coming out of those things. Like that, we try to motivate his thought process through adaptation of group therapy. Like that, there may be adaptation of so many modalities to improve his thought process. That is what called the therapy. Do you have any
Okay.
questions on this?
No, that's clear.
Okay. So next one is dhairya. Dhairya is supportive side, like motivating him, or see when a person's mental capacity, what we call sattva bala, mental capacity is low, he is more attracting them emotional disorders or intellectual disorders or mental disorders. So we use so many things like along with physical therapies like what we call medya rasayanas, medicines. So this dhairya or supportive psychotherapy is used to push the mental stamina of the person by explaining him many of the moral stories or the things, life experiences of the people, and the importance of why he has to come out. Yesterday I was discussing with my student regarding the social anxiety disorder. So there we had a how does this social anxiety happens? So the social anxiety happens due to fear of the wrong behavior in the social conditions. So so when we understand how we behave, why we behave like what we are. So there is a thing is that the emotions mainly origin from the limbic system. So this limbic system is the most ancient part of the brain. It is derived from animals. So the limbic system is always producing the basic instincts like emotions. So this doesn't have any gate or something filter. This is just producing the desires and desires and desires. We all get that. So we look at something, we like it, but we see that what we're doing is not good. We have to not do that. So this not doing and not doing comes from frontal lobe. There's a moral lobe here. So this will be controlling the instincts coming from the limbic system. So this is what you call connection between the frontal cortex and the limbic system. So like that, in our mind, we have origination of many thoughts, but they are guarded by this morals of what we are. That's what we were thinking like in this Atma Jnana. So this actually will be controlling those things. So here what happens, this is one stage, but there this becomes increased, and we become more and more worried about whether we are doing right thing, whether we are doing right thing, whether we are doing the right things, when we are much care about our things, our representation in the society. So the frontal lobe activities get deviated, and we start thinking that whether what we are thinking is right or right or right or right. So I was thinking like how to treat this. Just like in this Adhyatma Jnana, what you asked, self, negative self. Negative self comes a role here. What we do is, you express like, you just do this like screaming therapy is what we have, or pushing, hitting therapy is what we have to let the emotions go. So like that can be adapted in case of social anxiety. So letting the things go away as they are. This is the first kind of supportive therapy, is like pushing him to, or making him realize actually what is his strength. Just by pushing him is what is his instincts are up to some extent. So we ask them to push his instincts, his anger, his emotions. Then we bring the controller for that. This is how the supportive psychotherapy is done. Yes. You have any questions here?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. You're talking about kind of there's like almost a biofeedback loop between the front lobe and the limbic system, and that there's a healthy place where that's happening, and then sometimes it can be too much inhibited, or too much freedom of free expression.
Yeah.
And finding the healthy balance of that, when so somebody can be locked in either or trapped, I guess you could say, in the pattern of either too much or not enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's how this works actually, supportive psychotherapy.
And then it becomes more and more difficult then for, I guess, the person to accept themselves, because they're either not good enough or too good.
He thinks that I'm wrong, everybody's right. This is what happens.
Right. Or everyone's right and I'm wrong.
So then we have to push that you are right, everybody is wrong. That stage it comes, then it goes. So this is how the supportive psychotherapy works out. This is for a way of triggering the persons. So triggering the basic instincts will be helpful more in this condition.
And it's interesting that seems like it would naturally become less and less if you saw yourself more of as a relationship with other things rather than something that's separate. Because it seems like the more and more you're separate, the more you have to decide, are you right or are you wrong? Because you're one or the other.
Yes. And also there is one story called as Hanuman complex here. So in India, we use, in Indian psychology, they use one term called as Hanuman complex. Hanuman is such a creature that he has been blessed by all the divines. He contains the capacity of or energies of all divine, but he never knows it because it was gifted when he was a baby. Because as a baby, what he does, he was very naughty. So one day he saw the sun and he thought it was a ball or a fruit. He went to eat it. Okay. So Indra actually cursed him or beat him with his weapon, and this Hanuman fell on the ground, and his father, this Vayu, gets very angry, and he stops the air on the earth. Realizing the problem, the Indra asks for forgiveness, and he doesn't come out. And then there will be all the divines promise that this baby will be blessed with all the superpowers. But this all has happened during his childhood. He never realizes when he meets Rama. He thinks that he's still a smaller monkey. But one person, Sugriva, comes and explains what he is. And then he can realize that he can become as much big as he can, as much small as he can, and he can jump from one place to another place. He can go to any part of the world. This capacity is not at all known to him. Like that, we receive many people who will be having capacities, but they don't realize or understand what the capacity they have. So this supportive psychotherapy is just like a psychoanalysis, like understanding what are the strengths and the weakness and moduling them accordingly. If they have some weak, we train them or ask them to follow the trainings so that to come out of this weakness. Suppose he needs a skill and he is not skilled and he cries. So we ask them to get skilled first and then go to the jobs or where he's doing things. So this is all includes the supportive psychotherapy. Okay. So, okay.
Excellent.
Okay. So we have time.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Next therapy. So there are so many things. What I'm giving is a few modalities of what we adapt here. There are bigger understandings of these things. Next is memory or smriti, memory healing. So all we understand that forgetting is a gift, not a curse. Because every day we have to forget like what things are happening now and move tomorrow. Today we may be very superpowered or weak. So if you are superpowered today and we believe it and we never forget it, we may suffer from egoism or fail. We can't expect a failure on the other day. Or we are very weak today and we don't, or we have been suffering today and we don't, or we have lost somebody today and we don't forget and move tomorrow, we can't live tomorrow. So this is what the memory is. So many people come with very bad memories of the past, of their suffering, such as like abuses from the parents, from some other people, sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, or the losses they feel, or the people who have been not treating them. So these people are not able to get out of those memories. So actually, this smriti, actually we motivate or deviate them from moving from all these things to come to a new life, so that they can focus themselves from these painful memories to, we ask them all their, in this memory healing. Now what we do is we collect all the details of all the experiences of their life, and then we segregate them, like what were the most sad moments, what were the most happy moments, what were the most troubling people, what were the most helping people. And we try to find a cause for this, whether the other people are the cause or this person is the cause. And just we try to push him from negative memories to the positive memories, so that he can move from those things. So like this, we use the different modalities of memory healing. So remember the happy moments, forget the painful moments. And also we adapt so many other things like the hypnotherapy in this case to move away or erase some of the memories.
So this sounds a little different than what I'm familiar with, but maybe I'm misunderstanding it.
Yeah.
It sounds like what you're saying is, so like for often, like I'll run into someone and they have, they say they lost a loved one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, oh, just forget about it, move on. But what I've noticed is that things like that, people don't really forget, and
Yes.
and they can't just like put it to the side. They have to somehow integrate it as part of their life experience. You know, it's still with them.
Yeah.
It's always like for instance, my mother lost her first child. Okay. So that's still that's something she'll never forget, but she's learned how to kind of integrate it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like when you say forget the painful moments in relationship to memory, could you touch upon how you're not really requesting someone to just get past?
Yeah. Actually, there again, this dhi is coming in this. Okay, dhi and atma. So it's all a blend of all these things. Like what we do is how to make, we just like forget it. They can't do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we do is make them realize what is the reality of human life. Less like every second is lost, we can't get back the second which is lost. We can't be really what we are now. We can't get it back, or we can't expect that next second will be coming. So this is what we make them realize, that nothing is, we have come alone and we are going alone, and we are nothing we have brought with us, only that we are being designed to stay or live with these people at certain times. So this is a special way of understanding, and it needs a lot of techniques and applications of usage of many of the spiritual modalities, and improving then correcting that thinking process. Why it is very important? See, suppose one mother is losing one child, but if she sticks to that, she is losing other people with connected with her. So just focusing on that, again, it's a self, and making it broader to other children's, or his husband is okay, like other kids which she has, or she has a relatives, and she has a profession, she has to work for the society. If she sticks up with one thing, she can't really focus on other things. What we do is we really move them from focusing to okay, that is also important, but give importance to other things also. Like that, we try to motivate to other thought process rather than sticking to one painful moment. Okay. Okay. So yes, there are other, like 3 kids, and she's worried about 1 kid, and other 2 kids are really suffering who are already living. Okay. So just we see what is the scenario behind them and motivate them. Suppose I am a doctor, and if I'm going with my thought, I can't really serve the society, but my thing is serving the society. Why do I think that only my thing, everything is mine? When I think like that, I don't really suffer what I'm losing.
So in these ideas of self-love and self-acceptance, it's basically it sounds like showing, guiding a person to where the strongest point of self-love and the strongest point of self-acceptance is in a functional, harmonious relation with other people in their duties, and in their relations. So
making them realize what is the utmost happiness, not this
happiness.
Yes. That word is missing.
So because you could try to accept yourself as being a terrible person, but that's not really accepting yourself, because actually you're more than that.
Yes. Yes. So that word is missing here, that was there. Making them to realize what is the utmost happiness. Realizing like short time, what that is, that comes under this. But that's what I said, it's all a blend of all these things. So that's why when you ask like whether this comes first or that first, no, it doesn't come like that. It goes on flowing like this. Okay. So
when you say that, and I think about what I've read, like how the texts are translated, how do you get the context of it not being linear, and that it's actually this fluid thing of every moment it can jump from one place to another place? How do they describe that in the text? Or is this kind of a oral tradition of how to understand the text?
See what is happening. See, like how do I understand, or how do you understand? Really, we are all humans, and we don't have that much capacity to understand what has been actually the meaning of these texts. We need blessings of the things. Okay, so it's just if you are built up to, or I can't decide that this person is going to come to me to get healed. I can't decide it. It's decided. So this knowledge fills up in me so I'll become an instrument to heal that person. So this is what is happening. Not that we learn. Not that we
understand. Very subtle conversation there. What you're talking about is very deep. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And again, this is coming from the perspective that you're not separate, right? That you're only a relationship between many other things.
Yeah, definitely.
And because of your attitude, you're allowing a kind of a greater sense of
Yeah.
happiness
Yes.
by you being in a particular state of service,
Yes.
in helping the general whole move forward into more happiness itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. And so, and then what's kind of what you're saying too is that the general whole prefers happiness and is supporting you to do that by filling you with insight or perspective that's beyond just the words of a text.
Yes, definitely. Text is only, that's what I'm telling you, that like you need a special thing like a influence or something you need to really understand, because how is the thing, no, you go on reading today and after 10 years you read it, you'll get a different explanation, so understanding out of that.
Well, also, I guess you could say with clinical experience, you
Yes,
have so
definitely.
many
Yeah.
instances of caring about other human beings.
Yeah.
And that experience of caring about other human beings is almost like a skill that you build,
Yeah.
that you can't just get from understanding the text. The
Yeah,
text is
definitely.
great and it gives you the guidelines, but the caring about the other human beings gives you the
Yes.
insight or the siddhi even of
Definitely.
being able to
Practical.
utilize that information.
Yeah, textual to practical, what we see.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's
Okay.
I don't know how long we've been talking. It took us a little bit to get the technical stuff figured out.
Okay. So we can continue tomorrow, I think. We can.
Okay.
So,
Let's do that.
okay.
Thank you so much. Do you want to say anything else in capping off the finishing all of this discussion that we've had so far?
No, I think we need to still talk on that and then we can conclude on that.
Okay.
Still, there is a lot of stuff with that. It's
All
just
right.
the
All right.
beginning of that. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. This is so good. It's great for me personally. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, thank you
So,
for that.
yeah, thank you for sharing it so generously. And really hope that the people that are watching it
Okay.
can really, take away some practical application
Yes.
when in whatever their professional situation is with healing, or even just their situation as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, then what we say is like intellect. So that's why our textbooks have left that intellect of the doctors.
Say again, I don't understand that.
Like intellect therapy, when I spoke, no, like when to adapt that intellect. So everything is based on thinking process of the physician.
Uh-huh.
So if he's well trained, well blessed, he can help. Or he's been a mediator. He's decided that he's a mediator.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'll
Okay.
stop the recording now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, stop the recording. Thank you.